Greetings. Let's talk about the interpretation and the reporting of results under mixed method research. This is the last series of 5 series that I have been talking or discussing on mixed method, and this is the last series, which is very crucial for you or for everyone to listen to this series. This is the outline, just a general outline when you are reporting a mixed method. Um, in volume number 2, I talked about the research paradigm, which is very important. You need to make sure that when you are writing your methodology, you need to make sure that you include the research paradigm. And in this case, I emphasize the importance of using pragmatism as one of the best mixed method paradigm that you can use. Then we have got the research designs, mixed method designs. I talked about them. The um, the exploratory sequential design, the explanatory sequential design, the convergent, and also the nested one design. So we can, when you're also writing, you need also uh, to discuss about the population or the target population, the sample size, and the sampling procedure. I did not talk about this here because this is more generic whenever you are carrying out your study, whether it's qualitative, it's quantitative, it's mixed method. You need to talk or you need to discuss about population size, and the sample procedures, which is also the case with the data collecting procedures and instrument. That is why I did not talk about them here, as well as the research validity and reliability. There are some videos that I have talked about research validity and reliability. You can also go and listen to those videos, but they are mainly focusing on the quantitative part. I will come back to discuss about the qualitative validity and the reliability. We don't use the word validity and reliability in qualitative. We normally use the term rigor of the study. So it's very important for you to take note of that. Then in video number 4, I think number 4, I talked about the integration level, which is actually very important for you to make sure that you discuss or you tell us where in your study are the two method in mixed method going to integrate or going to meet. And today we are going to talk about interpretation and the reporting, which is the last series of the 5 series. Integration of qualitative and quantitative data at interpretation and reporting level, they occurs in 3 stages. So as you read different studies, what I want you to check, I want you to check these 3 things that I'm going to discuss, or 3 approaches that I'm going to discuss, and try to see which approach of the 3 did the writer or the student use whenever he or she was reporting his finding for mixed method. And here we are focusing on mixed method, and I don't want you to confuse. So the 3 levels or the 3 approach is, the first approach is the narrative approach. Then we have got the second approach, which is data transmission, and the last approach, which is the joint display. So these are 3 levels. These are 3 approach that most scholars use to report their study. And we're just gonna go ahead and explain a bit of these approaches. So let's start with the narrative. What actually happens in a narrative, or when we are reporting our data using the narrative approach? So when integrating through narrative, researcher described the qualitative and quantitative finding in a single or a series of reports. What I mean here is, as you report your findings, you either start reporting the qualitative findings, then immediately you reported the quantitative findings that are supporting whatever finding that you have found in the qualitative research. So it's either you start with with the narrative or with the qualitative results, then you support it with the quantitative as you go, as you build your argument. And there are so many students that loves to use this method. It's actually a very common method in most of the dissertations that I have seen of people that have been using a mixed method. And in narrative, there are also three approaches that can also be used when you are using narrative or when you are integrating your data in narrative. And the first one is the weaving. So the weaving part, when you are using weaving, you are saying both quantitative and qualitative, you are bringing them together or you are discussing them under a theme or theme by theme or under a concept. So for example, if you are studying about what can an example that I can give, let's say you're studying about food security. So I'm just going to go back to food security and there because I'm very well versed in food security. So you're discussing, say, for example, you're discussing about food security, then your theme might be food availability. So when you're using a weaving approach, you are taking all the findings on the qualitative pertaining food availability. Then you also take findings in quantitative pertaining food availability, and you just mix them as you discuss. Okay, so it's theme by theme. Then when you finish food availability, you can go to the next theme, which might be food affordability. Then you do the same. So as you go, you are discussing quantitative and qualitative at the same time. You don't wait. Then we have got the contiguous one. The contiguous one, you first discuss the qualitative findings, or you first discuss the quantitative, whatever you start with. Then when you finish that, then you start also discussing the qualitative. So you don't mix them in the same paragraph or in the same section. You don't mix them. You split them. You start discussing the qualitative, then after that you go to the quantitative, then that's how you go. Then the third one, which is now the staged approach of narrative. And in the staged approach, this is normally happens to the people that does what we call multi-stage mixed method study, whereby you have got your study goes into different stages. So as you get your results, you'll be analyzing them and publishing them. You don't wait for another for you. If say, for example, you start with qualitative, you don't wait for you to get the results for quantitative. You just do your study immediately, analyze, publish the results. Then you go to quantitative, analyze, publish the results. That is what we call a staged approach. And most students, as I have highlighted, they normally use the weaving approach. The weaving approach. Then we have got the data transmission. The data transmission or integration through data transmission, which is our second approach in reporting. This data transmission, the group of people that loves data transmission are the data scientists, the statisticians. They like a lot of data transition transformation. Sorry, data transformation. And what we are saying when we are talking about data transformation, we are saying we are changing qualitative data into quantitative, or we are changing quantitative into qualitative. Then once we have done that, then we take the data that we have transformed, we take it again and we compare it with whatever data that we have, the quantitative data that we have, and we start discussing the finding. It's actually a very interesting this is one of the most interesting part of data, and it's actually this one actually requires a high skill of data analysis for you to be able actually to do that. So in quantitative study, researchers sometimes code quantitative data and then counted the frequency of codes. And I normally do this. I love it because I'm from the quantitative side, although I'm also good in qualitative. And yes, there are so many advantages of you doing this. And if you want to do this, then I advise you to record your interviews or to record all the sessions, the group sessions, or the group focus discussions. You need to record them so that you can transcribe them verbatim. Then it works well than for you to write the notes, and because we want the words that the participant have actually spoken for us to be able to do this. So it's one of the most exciting way of integrating data. um, then we have got the joint analysis. This is also, it's almost similar with the data transformation one, but here we are now talking about the visualization. Most of the people that report using the frequency tables, most of them, they also use the word clouds, the n-grams. So this is actually one of the most interesting skill in mixed method, and you just need to learn these things because they're not very difficult for you to actually to do. So yes, it's actually doable, and within this, if you stay in this group, I will also introduce some of these skills and tell you how to work around some of how to acquire some of those skills. Then there's one most important now part of the part of mixed method, especially when you are integrating or when you are reporting data from qualitative and quantitative. And I've said when using any of these analytical or representation procedures, a potential question of coherence of the quantitative and the quantitative findings may occur. That is the biggest challenge that you might find. You might actually find that you want to merge, or you want to weave qualitative findings, and you want to weave qualitative and quantitative, but they are not much. Then you lose the coherence of actually your study. It's actually one big challenge that you find. So when we talk of fit of data integration, we refer to the coherence of quantitative and qualitative findings. And in most cases, especially for students, you might discover that data does not see the coherence, it lacks the coherence. So the assessment of fit of coherence leads to three possible outcomes. There is a confirmation. And when we are talking of confirmation, we are actually saying both the qualitative and quantitative, they are agreeing. There is an agreement of the finding. And once that does, when you achieve that, we say your findings, they have got a higher level of credibility. So it's very important for you to make sure that whatever strategy that you adopt, whatever design that you take, we need to arrive at a confirmation. We want the two approaches just to agree. Then there is also an extension. This is actually a very good part. And when we are talking of extension, we are saying there is now an addition, or you have got an insight of other things that you never thought of. So whenever you are when you were discussing, then you are gaining or an insight of your phenomena from another angle, which is one skill that we would want, or one outcome that we want for PhD students to achieve, to have an extension. Because normally when you start a study, whether it's master's, whether it's PhD, you have got kind of a bias that we have or that you carry. Although we would by trying to put some procedures, we are trying to guide against those biases. So, but if you can achieve, if you have got an insight into the data of things that you were not even thinking about, and they actually come in your study, we will say we have now your data, or the fit of data have led you to the extension of your insight, which is actually a very good thing for us to have. Then we have got the last one, discordance, which is actually one uh, problem that most students normally faces whenever they are using qualitative mixed method, qualitative and quantitative. And the discordance, what we are just talking about here, we are saying the findings, or qualitative and quantitative findings, they don't agree, they disagree, they are not consistent. And when that happens, you can do quite a lot of things to try and correct the mistake. The first thing that you can do is for you to go back to your methodology and find out the biases in your methodology. You can go back to your data, record the data if you want. You can record the data and rerun it again. Then if that is not working, you might also we might actually ask you to go check the participant number of participants that you have actually interviewed. You might discover that you have only interviewed maybe 5 interviewee, so you might need to go and interview more people and check what's actually coming. Or you might actually discover that you have administered your questionnaire to 10 people only, or 20 people, or you have failed to meet the normality test on your questionnaire. So we might ask you to go back and collect more data in terms of administering a questionnaire. So you need to check how many participants have actually participated in your study. That is, it's actually very logical. Let's now say you discover that you have interviewed 50 people and you have actually administered the questionnaire to 800. I just use 800 at random. Then you can't go back and administer another question, some more questionnaires. Otherwise, you're still gonna get the same number, because I think that if you go 800, it's just gonna be too much in terms of the statistical number that we normally require. Or you have interviewed people. So it might be that you have interviewed the wrong people. So you also need to check that did I interview the right people? Did I interview the key informant, people that are knowledgeable in the area? In the event that you have actually interviewed people that are knowledgeable in the area, and you have administered the questionnaire to the people that are the right people, the other option that you have is now to go back to your design and give weight to a higher weight or a greater weight to either qualitative or quantitative. But in most cases, I would advise a student to give a higher weight to qualitative approach. Then you use just the results for qualitative just to support or you do what we call selective reporting. You just take some results in your quantitative that are supporting the findings in qualitative. Those ones are the one that you only report. Then you don't report everything. So that's what you can do to deal with the problem of discordancy in qualitative and quantitative findings, or in mixed method research. So yes, it's very important for you guys to make sure that whenever you are selecting a methodology to use, you use the most appropriate design. And also for master's student, it's also very good that you try to avoid this methodology, because it's actually demanding. I think as you heard me talking about in all these series, that this is one of the most demanding. So it's very important for you is either you select, if you are doing masters, either just select quantitative or qualitative methodology. So yes, I hope you have gained some tips and some tricks in these 5 series. They were actually quite long, and yes, enjoy. I will be also on the live streaming talking about the 5 series. Thank you so much and enjoy.